Verse 618. Depending on leaves, pieces of wood, etc., the magical charm is effected. In like manner, pluralities of objects, depending on some other objects, are manifested to the people. So a magical charm made up of bits of wood and leaves and so on. It casts a spell, an enchantment. In like manner, pluralities of objects, depending on some other objects, are manifested to the people. So in a similar way, we're enchanted by this world of objects, which we're told depends on other objects. This is the story that we're told, that this world actually depends on some kind of substructure. And in modern scientific terms, that's the structure of atoms, subatomic particles, so-called fundamental particles. We're told that that's the reality. So this is a story that's spun to us, and this was looked at in the previous two verses. We're told that this manifestation is dependent on something else. It's dependent on atoms or quarks or strings or Higgs bosons or whatever. That's the story we're told, as if it kind of validates the reality of multiple objects, the pluralities of objects, because this, as Enlightenment practitioners, is what we want to step back from. This idea that there's lots of things going on out there. This is what enchants us. And enchantment, as delightful as it might sound, is an enslavement. It's like being hypnotized. The magical charm is actually a hypnotist's pendulum or shiny object which enchants us and is used to suggest a particular reality to us. So as Enlightenment practitioners, we want to wake up from this enchantment that there's a world out there with pluralities of objects. And the next couple of verses guide us through this enchantment. Verse 619. The magical net is neither the leaves nor the pieces of wood nor the pebbles. It is owing to the magician that the magic scene is perceived by the people. So the magical net, we're caught in it. We're caught in this enchantment. And this enchantment has got nothing to do with atoms and molecules and so on. It's to do with the story that we're told about them. We're taking our cue from out there as to what reality is, rather than from our own direct insight. So we could understand the magician here as those that purvey stories of reality. It could be the scientific stories or it could be religious stories. But ultimately the magician is consciousness itself, because whatever consciousness experiences it takes as real. Consciousness has fallen victim to its own enchantment. It's fallen into a state of self-hypnosis. So the way out is indicated in verse 620. Thus when something, this is the enchantment, depending on some objects is destroyed. Dualism ceases at the moment of seeing. How will there be anything of discrimination? So if we drop the stories that give apparent substance to an external world with lots of things in it, and these stories are historical stories telling us, for example, where this mouse came from, its component parts, and so on, or where this cup came from and how it's going to end up. These are the stories. If we stop relating to these things also as separate objects, we relate to them in terms of their functionality and their desirability in accomplishing that functionality. I can't drink coffee out of my mouse, but I do like the shape and the colour of it, and it's not got a cord, it's wireless, so it's very useful. Forget all that. We're coming back to awareness once again, and we're no longer entering into the world of control. We're giving up control and coming back to pure witnessing. Of course, we come back and we get on with controlling things and get on with life. But when we're practicing, we give all that up and come back to awareness once again. So this is when the enchantment is destroyed. The enchantment which depends on objects is destroyed, because we're no longer buying in to functionality, we're no longer buying into control, we're no longer buying into desire, into what is desirable and what is not desirable. In this way, dualism ceases at the moment of seeing, at the moment of sense perception. We're no longer getting caught up in the senses. We've come back to stillness. And this is what we keep working at. Observing what there is of our mood tones still hovering around this stillness. And we observe those mood tones. And we look for what I was recently describing as the rainbow body. Those qualities of consciousness, of awareness, openness, capacity, lovingness, relief. I don't think I've mentioned that one before. There's nothing to worry about when we enter into this realization. We're coming back to the rainbow body. And in this rainbow body, there will be nothing of discrimination. Discrimination is that which identifies the pluralities of objects. It's caught up in the world of objects. And we've got a sequence of verses coming up to do with discrimination. But for the meantime, let's relax in the stillness of awareness, in the stillness of pure being.